The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is episode 31 of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network. A look at reopening Disney and your Florida bucket list.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, City Girl Jemmy and Country Boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
On this episode of Finding Florida, we speak with popular Disney writer, blogger, and podcaster Mike Scopa about what Disney will look like if it reopens in a few weeks. We also look at some of the latest travel news around Florida, and we look at a Florida travel bucket list. And Jemmy and I are going to see how many we have tackled, and we want to know how many you tackled as well. Listen in.
Does the bucket list include trapeze?
It doesn't, actually. It should, though.
Aw, man. Well, I've got one on it.
Sunshine and palm trees of Florida, Florida. When you need it bad, we've got it good. When you need it bad, up to Florida, we need it bad.
Well, Jemmy, do you know how on a lot of the past episodes we've talked about the Florida man?
Oh, like every episode, whether we delegate it as a Florida man or not, he pops in almost every episode.
Well, now we can talk about the Florida state. It's kind of like the Florida man. Everybody in the country is talking about Florida because, again, we are leading the way in something that is bad.
Let me tell you, before you continue and reveal the latest something that is bad, I just saw a resurgence of a very popular meme, which pops its head up every few weeks. It is the meme of Bugs Bunny with a handsaw, and he's sawing away, and then it pans out. He's just cut Florida right off the map, and it floats away. I've seen that pop up. So what is this latest, Glenn?
It feels like we should actually be cut off the map sometime.
No, I'm jumping into Georgia if that happens. I don't want to float away with Florida.
So as we're recording this, we've had 2 days of over 5,000 positive cases.
And
I
positive is bad.
Is bad. Yeah,
is
positive
bad.
is not good. Positive is negative. And we're second now to Texas and California on off days. We'll be leading the way here shortly. We're going to be
we're
winning.
on par, man. We are just
We don't do
revving up.
anything. Oh, man. We're never going to leave the house, you and I, again.
Why
We're
can't
never
we
traveling
be
again.
number one at something good? Dang it.
For years there, we were going somewhere every month in the state. Now
know.
we're here.
I know. But
Are you getting housebound? I'm starting to feel housebound now. I really am.
I've gone through waves. I think right now, like 2 weeks ago, I was in a heavy housebound cabin fever kind of place. Right now, I think I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm not sure what I can attribute that to, but I'm just feeling like, okay, just carry on. One more day. Just carry on. It's funny. I just sent a text to my brother this morning saying, hey, why don't you come spend a week with us? It'll be fun. He's like, but I don't want to get you sick. And I'm like, but you've been isolating. He absolutely will not take a chance because of my lung situation. So I'm just not desperate. Like, I don't want to see my brother. I don't mean it that way. Like, he's my last choice.
Well,
I just mean like, gosh, I'm desperate to see him and see everybody. It's crazy.
I'm not going to say who this is, but I just got off the phone 2 minutes ago with a company that we're looking at doing advertising with for Horse Radio Network. And the owners had a family party, including some of the employees.
Oh, dear Lord.
Found out 2 days later that the one relative has COVID, and now they're all under quarantine and getting tested. The whole family.
All it takes is one.
Yep,
Oh, wait,
that's right.
Is this family in Florida? Please
Yes.
tell me. Dang it.
So, it's just, you don't know, right? You just don't know.
You don't know.
Although I'm sure your brother's probably being careful.
I'm
about
sure
that.
he's just being extremely careful, but which is
And I'm only saying that because I know
admirable.
he's listening.
You can kick your ass.
I try. Hey, we have some news from around Florida. You want to hear it?
I suppose so.
Other than, us all getting sick. So what is one thing that any town we go to that when we saw one of these kinds of tours pop up, we tried to do because we love it so much?
Okay, all I know, the one that's coming up, I think I know where you're going with this, but I was going to say the one that came up for a long time until you finally got one of your own was the electric bike tour. Man, you were a pain in the butt about wanting to get on that. We finally did it, and then you were a pain in the butt about wanting your own, and you finally got one. I think.
And I ride it all the time, by the way.
You do, and I can't wait for you to finally take that thing down the coast as promised. That'd be great. But I think you're going to talk about, if I can guess, a product that is very ironic in what ended up happening to the inventor of said product. Am I on the right track?
Yes.
I am.
We love doing Segway tours, and any place we would go, we did it in Tallahassee. We did it in a couple different places, but Tallahassee's the one I remember going through the college
it was
campus.
so good.
So cool. Very
So
fun.
cool.
We've had some fun Segway tours, and we both love to Segway.
Yeah, because you see everything. You get to see all the little nooks and crannies of the city. There was even, I remember there were even times where we felt like we were going down random alleyways, but because there was something special about that alleyway, like the art on the ground or whatever it was. Like you see all the stuff that you don't get to see when you're doing like a car tour or a boat tour, as wonderful as those are as well. It was just
And
different.
I think Demi might have set a land speed record on her Segway, too.
I definitely did. I think you set a land slowness record going over that bridge. So.
Oh, yeah. I don't like bridges. So bad news. Segway is going out of business. The Segway personal transporter, which is what we ride on during the Segway tours, after 2 decades is going out of business. Apparently, they were sold to it after he died, after the Segway guy died in a Segway.
How did he die? I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Segway off a cliff.
Poor guy.
So he died, and it was sold to a Chinese company, which I didn't realize, called Ninebot. And they launched other products and over the years and everything, but the scooters just never really took off. So they're not going to be making them anymore. Do you realize they only had 21 employees left?
So wait a minute. What's that going to happen to the Segway? Is now the time to get one while you can? What's going to happen to our lovely tour guides that took us out and about in Tallahassee? What's going to happen?
Well, only 12 people are staying on for 2 months to cover the warranties and repairs. So after that, you're going to be on your own for fixing things.
And I don't think I'm up for buying a used Segway. If I want one, it has to be new. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel comfortable.
I think electric bike tours are going to replace the Segway tours. That's what's going to happen with that.
Aw, poor Segways.
Let's just all have a moment of silence for Segways.
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry.
And next, a more positive note. What is the other thing that when you and your son and I are out together doing things that you like to do when we're in a place that involves laser tag? You two like to gang
Kick
up
your
on
butt.
me. Kick my butt. Well, now you're going to have another opportunity to do that, only in a little different kind of gun. It's Panama City is doing the first indoor Nerf arena.
Oh, cool. That reminds me of Extreme Action Sports in Fort Lauderdale. Remember they had that one room that had like a Nerf kind of experience thing where you got to shoot the balls.
Oh, this is going to be a room. It's going to have 12 maze-like rooms, and the Nerf arena is going to be a one-of-a-kind experience. And you're going to wear bandanas, which is appropriate now, right? Wear bandanas of different colors, and
did they make you wear it over your face now?
I think now. So that's happening in Panama City, the Nerf arena. So that's going to be opening soon. I think it was supposed to open, but now it is opening.
So I have lots of questions because I can't help myself. It is COVID. I can't help myself. I'm wondering, when people shoot off the little Nerf thingies, isn't someone else just going to grab it off the floor? I have so many questions.
And, they don't really hurt much. So you wouldn't even know you've been hit, I think.
Yeah. No, they're pretty soft.
It's a milder version of paintball, which we've never done, and we got to do some point too.
Oh, boy. You've seen my accuracy with all kinds of shooting things, so you better watch out.
I don't want to see your son with a paintball gun. That's bad.
Neither do I.
All right. So the other thing that we've talked about a lot recently is drive-in movie theaters are opening up all across the country. Well, something cool is happening at the Miami Dolphins Stadium. Of course, the Miami Dolphins Stadium is also the Hard Rock Stadium down there in Miami. And what they've done is they've started doing drive-in movies inside the stadium where you drive your car in and park on the field. And it's been such a huge hit. They're continuing it all the way through the month of July. That sounds like fun.
repurposing at the
That's
max.
something to do with your son, right? Just go and
Yeah,
wouldn't that be cool?
really cool. I mean, we do have, we are blessed to have a drive-in theater, a regular drive-in theater, pretty close, one in Lake Worth. And so it only takes us about maybe 15 minutes to get to it. But this just seems like a cool, different experience. I'm seeing the picture that you put in the production notes and just seeing all the cars lined up in the middle of the arena is pretty cool. I must say, it looks like a totally, and I wonder, I can imagine at the stadium, they'll have way better concessions than your typical drive-in theater. So.
I don't know. They didn't say anything about that, so I don't know.
Oh.
But you know what? The other cool thing is it benefits the Miami Dolphins Foundation food relief program that they do for the community. So it's all going for a good cause too.
Oh,
And they
I'm seeing here, private dining experience that includes a 3-course meal with options for adults and children. So you can get like your real dining on at this one. That is really cool.
I wonder if they have girls in roller skates to bring them up.
Wish.
So they have movies coming up if you're interested, like Back to the Future, Black Panther, Jerry Maguire,
Okay,
Creed,
check. Those first two especially.
E.T., Jaws coming up, The Never-Ending Story, which I saw and I thought it was never-ending.
Don't even say that. That is my favorite movie of all time. I will slap you through the microphone, just like you know.
So if you want to do that,
yes, I know the theme song by heart.
The other thing, too, before we get to our guest here, is I kind of been highlighting a restaurant each time we get together because they're actually opening now. And I did check this one is open. They do have partial opening inside, and they do have a place outside, and you can get takeout, although I don't think you want to take out from this particular place, and I'll tell you why. It's in, is it Dania?
Dania
Beach, which is apparently south of Fort Lauderdale, right?
It's like, so you have my Dade County, Miami, Dania. It's like all right on top of each other. So it's kind of sandwiched and bleeds in between like Fort Lauderdale and Miami. There's Dania.
Gotcha. Well, they have a place called, it's been there for 63 years, called Jaxsons Ice Cream Parlor.
Which, when you brought it up, I'm surprised I've never been there. I went to high school in Fort Lauderdale, and it's been there 63 years, you said? I'm definitely not 63 years old. I should have been there.
Well, they serve big things. So its technical name is Jaxsons Ice Cream Parlor Restaurant and Country Store. And one of the things they're known for, do you like hot dogs? I don't think I've ever seen you eat a hot dog.
I love hot dogs.
Do you? Why have we never eaten a hot dog while we're together? I've never seen. I really have never seen you eat a hot dog.
Because usually you're paying, and I'm not buying a cheap hot dog if you're paying.
Well, it's a 1-pound hot dog. You've heard of the foot-long hot dogs? This baby's 16 ounces.
Whoa. Whoa.
And the bun is huge. Everything's huge about it. They have all this kind of cool stuff at this ice cream parlor, but the thing they're known for is called the kitchen sink. And it's not just a play on words, because, in fact, it's a ginormous ice cream sundae served inside a kitchen sink. Literally a kitchen sink. So you can see the picture there.
Yes.
Really so neat. What you get is, it depends on how many people are eating it. So if we came in and they said there were 2 people eating, they're going to put 2 pounds of ice cream per person. You choose your flavors. 2
pounds per person?
Per person. So then they're going to top it off.
Dog.
They're going to top it off with bananas, homemade whipped cream, mixed nuts, lots of cherries, and they put sparklers in the top when they bring it to your
Perfect
table.
for 4th of July. Look at that.
It is huge.
Oh,
it makes me really hungry for ice cream right now, actually.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow. I think they need to buddy up with the people on Beauty and the Beef, pair their huge burgers and then their huge ice cream, and do a contest and see if there's a single human on the planet that can eat both.
Okay, I'm looking here, and the kitchen sink costs $14.95 a person. So 2 people would be about $30.
So $7.50 a pound per ice cream. Holy cannoli!
I wanted to also see here, but I'm not finding it. I'm trying to look for the hot dog. I want to see how much a pound hot dog costs. I find a pound hot dog on the menu right now. But yeah, you can get that all at this. And it's called the Jaxsons ice cream parlor.
And does it come with a wheelbarrow to get you back to your car when you're done?
They do have a lot of big stuff on this menu. There's about 1,000 different kinds of ice cream floats and sundaes. And do you like ice cream floats, like root beer floats?
Yes. In fact, when I was about late teens, I'm trying to remember exactly, late teens, early 20s, I worked at a restaurant. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it was like an old throwback 50s kind of shake shop, and it was just shakes and burgers, totally classic. But we sold both ice cream, like handmade milkshakes and malts. Oh God. And of course that meant we had root beer floats. So good. Yes, I'm a big fan.
Well, if we ever see each other again in this lifetime, we're going for root beer floats and hot dogs. You know what? We've been locked up so long that even sounds good. It's like,
it's the little things at this point, or in this case, the very large things that come in a kitchen sink.
the next tour we actually do together, like outside the house, this next episode we do is just going to be food. We're just going to eat our way through whatever.
Gosh. Yes, please.
You know, Tampa's wants us to come back and do a food tour. I think we'll take them
That's
up on that.
right. Next on the list. There you go, Kevin. You're going to be hearing from us.
And an ice cream place. They want to take us to these fancy restaurants, and we'll be going, hot dogs, please. It's our hot dog place. All right, coming up next is our guest for the day. Well, coming up now is our guest. His name is Mike Scopa. He is a veteran podcaster, longer than me, actually, and a writer.
Is a long time.
He's been podcasting for a long time, and I've listened to his show forever. Covering
Jordan
Disney.
wasn't born yet, guys.
No, he wasn't. And he's been covering Disney for decades. In 2005, Mike was designated as one of the 50 happiest pass holders on Earth. That's its designation that Disney used to give. And he does the Micky Miles and More show on YouTube. He's also a marathon runner, a serious marathon runner. He's done dozens of Disney marathons. We can talk to him a little bit about that too, because that's an experience we will never have.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk to him about
actually, I take that back. We did. The very first adventure was a Disney marathon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Which we couldn't do right now. There's so many restrictions. You couldn't do that one anymore.
That's true.
All right, let's get Mike Scopa on here. Well, hi, Mike. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity because I was listening to you before I was even podcasting, which I didn't know was possible, but it is. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for the compliment, Glenn. It's a real pleasure and an honor for you to ask me to come onto the show and talk about what you want to talk about.
Well, of course, you were named one of the 50 happiest pass holders on Earth in 2005.
Wow.
So, I mean, that just meant you spent a lot of money at Disney's, what I'm guessing.
He just gives a crown or something.
You've been doing your research. That was a last-minute thing. I didn't really pay any attention to that contest. And then at the last minute, one of my colleagues at Mouse Planet said, today's the last day you can enter that contest. And so I took 15 minutes. I wrote something down and I was running down the stairs to put it in the mailbox. And my son said, "What's that, Dad? What are you mailing?" I said, "I'm mailing something that's going to get us a free trip to Disney." And guess what? I was one of them who was picked. And so I was able to go down for the opening of the Lights Motor Action stunt show.
Oh, yeah.
Actually spent that time at Len. That was a special night at the studios. And beyond that, and about a year or two later, they actually chose me from all the winners and they flew me to Soho, New York. And that was the night that they announced the Year of a Million Dreams, if you remember that. I don't know if you do. Yeah. And I was sworn to secrecy, not to say anything until the next morning. So that was kind of an interesting night. I got to, my picture was in the, what's the name of that annual pass holder thing? The Mickey Monitor. And I was interviewed by several people, and what they wanted to know is they wanted to know what annual pass holders wanted, what they expected, what was working, what wasn't working. And it was a very interesting night. I'll never forget it. I was really touched by how well they treated me and my wife. I think that it's something they'll always remember. But at the same time, I'm not sure they actually are doing what I feel they should do for annual pass holders. So I'm trying to be.
They haven't asked you since.
Yeah. I mean, I want to show how grateful I am for their hospitality. But at the same time, it's like what have you done for me lately? So.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I also want to talk to Mike a little bit about the fact that he is a Disney marathoner many, many, many times over. And that's something that Jemmy and I, we do this travel adventure show, and we do all the things like Jemmy's been on trapezes, we've been in race cars, we've done all this stuff. But running a marathon is not something either one of us is signing up for.
I love how you said we when it came to trapeze, but carry on.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was Jemmy that did that. So we're supposed to open here in a couple of weeks. As we're recording this, it is the 25th, and our numbers are skyrocketing here in Florida. We had 2 days over 5,000 new positive tests. Do you think that, is there any chance that Disney they just backed off yesterday. I don't know if Jemmy even heard this, but they're not opening Disneyland as they had planned because California's not doing well. Could they do that in Florida, or are they too far down the road they have to now?
Well, one of the things, Glenn and Jemmy, I thought that one of the reasons why they put off the reopening almost 2 months ahead of the announcement was that perhaps they were thinking that there could be something that comes along that would prevent them from actually opening up on July 11th. On July 11th, they're supposed to open up the Magic Kingdom and Disney's Animal Kingdom, and then a few days later, on the 15th, they're going to open up the studios and also Epcot. I do think that somewhere there has to be a special number, a special threshold that either the governor, Ron DeSantis, or Walt Disney World has in mind that would say to them, it may not be that good of an idea to open up. I personally think that they should not open. I think that the indications over the last several days tell me that it's really getting to be quite a hot spot. And I have been in contact with some cast members, and they are concerned about their safety. They're concerned about the guest safety. And I don't know, Jemmy and Glenn, if you've heard about what type of guidelines will take place when the parks open.
Yeah. We talked about that on the last episode about the masks and the social distancing and the opening at 30% or 30% capacity and all of that. And then we also watched, the Shanghai film that they did about what was happening over there.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. And they're not doing parades and fireworks, and they didn't lower the ticket price, I noticed.
Yeah, that's kind of glad you mentioned that, Glenn, because that's the thing that bothers me. If you are not providing the total entertainment that you normally would, be it the fireworks, as you said, be it the parade, be it the meet and greet with the characters, be it the shows because of the gathering. And I don't know if that's a true thing. There may be some kind of guidelines put together with tape on the ground so that if you're in front of the castle, you can stand 6 feet away from everyone. I think that one of the things I was looking for, especially with reduced operating hours, is perhaps maybe a discounted ticket, but I haven't seen that yet.
I don't know since I've been alive that Disney's ever discounted a ticket since they started. So
Yeah, right.
That's in another life.
I'm curious, Mike, do you think that you mentioned the governor and you mentioned the Disney Corporation, obviously thinking things through and deciding whether to reopen or push things back. But do you think public opinion plays into this at all? I saw this interesting graphic that was floating around on Facebook or someplace a couple days ago. And it was the classic image of the big ball at Epcot, right? But instead of the ball, it was the virus. And instead of saying Epcot on the image, it said epicenter. And so it made me curious, is that, and I don't know who made the graphic. It wasn't attached to an article or something. So it was, just some local or whoever. It just made me wonder, what is the public opinion? Have you gotten a sense of how the public is feeling? Are they itching to go back? Are they worried about going back? Do you think Disney is using that to weigh in on the decision making?
That's a really good question, Jimmy. And one of the problems with answering that question is that it may get into, and I'm sure you both of you be aware of this, it gets into the political realm of who's on the left and who's on the right. I do think that there are a lot of concerned people out there. I think there are a lot of concerned cast members for sure.
The cast members had a petition, right, Mike? To not open.
Oh, wow.
They've had a petition. I got a hold of a letter from a cast member who was very concerned. And Glenn, I will send this to you so you can share it with Jimmy. I don't want to share it on the air right now, but if you read it out loud, you may not be able to finish reading the last paragraph. You may get choked up by the sentiment there, because there are people who work for that company who they are just there because they love the magic. They love to provide whatever kind of great experience to the guests. I have many friends who are cast members, and at the same time, they want their guests to be healthy. They're concerned. They don't think it's time. They want to get back to work as much as anyone does, but they want it to be safe. So in that regard, Jimmy, I think that there are cast members. There are a lot of cast members who are concerned. As far as the general public, I think it's pretty 50-50. The thing that surprised me the most was that you've heard about this reservation system that they've established, a new reservation system. And
you're going to have to reserve a ticket ahead for one park. You won't be able to park hop, and you're going to have to reserve it ahead. That's how they can control the 30% occupancy or whatever.
Right. And in many cases, I know that some of the dates have already been sold out.
Wow.
Yeah, and let me go back to that comment I made about annual pass holders. So annual pass holders and Disney Vacation Club members, and I'll go as far as even Club 33 members, they have not been, as far as I know, they have not been given special treatment. And to me, they would be the best customers. And also, I would see those three groups may, in my opinion, have the type of guest who would comply
the most
with all
compliant.
the guidelines. So I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, because one of the things I've seen on many of the Facebook posts about when this was happening on various pages, everybody whining about having to wear masks in Florida in the summer. And let me tell you, Jemmy and I have to do that, and it's hot as hell. It's not.
I only have one lung that functions properly to begin with, so breathing through a mask is extra difficult. But I'd rather do that than a ventilator. I'm just saying.
We both have to because we have health problems, and we won't be going to Disney because of that. But it is hot. There's no question.
I have breaking news on that.
It's going to get hotter?
With outside doing horse stuff and had to wear the mask. And she came back after 2 hours and said, it's uncomfortable. But I think that Disney also put that in place, one, to be safe, and also because they knew that the people who are willing to wear the mask were going to be the compliant non-troublemakers.
That's true.
When you look at it from a corporate standpoint, you look at that stuff, and they were going to be the people that followed their distancing rules and did all of that. Mm-hmm. And they also don't, at this point, they don't want that other 70% who's not going to wear the mask even coming. They don't want them signing up and not getting a ticket. That's bad publicity. So it's self-selection, right? You're going to get the best people that you want in the park at that time.
You would hope. I think that this potentially could be a PR nightmare if it doesn't go well. One of the things I wanted to mention, and just before we went on the air, I received a notification about this sort of breaking news, and that is that Universal Studios has announced that you don't have to wear a mask if you enter their parks if you have some type of a medical condition.
So everybody has medical conditions all of a sudden.
Right. But here's the aspect of that really bothers me. So, Glenn, you can walk up and you can say, I really cannot wear a mask because I have a medical condition. They're not allowed to ask you what that medical condition is.
You don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
Because it goes against the ADA. The difficult thing is that there is a law, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, where public health supersedes it. So the idea that it can be mandated as a blanket statement across the state is legally sound. But if you're making it just strictly a business to business policy, then you get in this tricky kind of conundrum where if you push it, you can get stuck in one way. If you don't push it, you can get stuck the other way. It's like, what are they to do? Yeah.
So again, this is like very late breaking news. I'm not sure how true it is, but one of my sources told me that, and
I want to know how many masks are at the bottom.
That's so great. That's so cool.
Mike has a lot of sources. I want to know how many masks are at the bottom of the Hulk roller coaster over at Universal. There must be 1,000.
Well, Glenn, I'm glad you bring that up, because one of the discussions I've had with some people, and I don't know if I've talked with Len on this, but one of the things that concerns me is if you're wearing a mask and you're on Space Mountain, if you're on Splash, if you're on Big Thunder, if you're on Rock and Roller Coaster, if you're on Everest, if you're on any roller coaster, what happens if the mask goes flying off?
Right.
And is it possible that the mask could land on the track and then the next car that comes down hits that and abruptly stops? And could there be a problem? I don't know. Or would it just cut the mask in half? I think of those things and I wonder because they're all about safety. And so all this.
I went a different route. I was thinking about the guy 2 cars back.
I know exactly where you were going with that. That's what I was thinking too. I'd be the one who got hit in the face with someone else's mask.
If you cross your eyes. Oh, you know what? I don't know. It's what we've been saying all along. And I've been saying this all along since it started. And we were doing a lot of coverage on it at the very beginning for the horse world. Is that the virus doesn't care what we all think.
Right.
It doesn't care. It doesn't care what your politics are. It doesn't care anything. Right. It's doing what it does, and it's being a virus. Right. It doesn't have emotions, and
and it's new territory for all of us. So I think all we can really do is just sit back and see what happens, right? I just know I'm not going to be one of the guinea pigs on the front of the lines, but
have to make the multi-billion-dollar decision what we do. Oh,
that's true. There is no script for what we're going through, and we have to tread lightly. I think we have to be very careful. I think that reacting as quickly as we can to do whatever we need to do to, quote, flatten the curve, do whatever we can to try to get a handle on this, I think is important at this point. Pretty critical what's going on. And as you mentioned, I think it was Jemmy who mentioned about all the numbers going up. And we'll see what happens. I'm keeping my eye on Florida and see what happens. I did not think that what happened in California yesterday with the decision by Disneyland, I don't know if that would have an impact on Florida, because from what I understand, it was the state of California that sort of was the catalyst.
Yeah, their governor's a lot more conservative. He's a lot more conservative Democrat than our liberal Republican governor. So there I dove into a tiny little bit of politics, but that's if you think about it. Right?
Move along. No one noticed.
So one of the other things too, before we get on to marathons, that was interesting, and this is what complicates the whole country and the whole world right now. I mean, Europe's talking about stopping Americans from traveling there, so you're not going to see Europeans coming over here to go to Disney because they won't be able to get back, right? But that's true right now of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. They just put down the rule that if you're from Florida or any of the other states that are having huge increases, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, if you're from any of those states and you go back to New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, you have to quarantine for 14 days. And that includes anybody from New York that comes to Disney and then goes back, is supposed to quarantine for 14 days. And they're saying they're going to really enforce that. I don't know how. But so that complicates it, right? So basically, if you have a job, you can't come to Disney right now from those 3 states.
That's pretty much the way I saw it, too. And who knows if that edict, or whatever you want to call it, will expand over the next several days or maybe over the next week. Who knows?
We'll be visiting you in the mountains up there in New England is what's going to be happening. So, all right. So let's talk real quick about marathons. How did the Disney marathons become so popular? I mean, tens of thousands of people descend. And when you first started coming, were you the only guy? And then it grew because of you? Or
I don't know if that's the case. I think one of the things that happens is that there's a health kick that I think it's cyclical in this country, maybe in the world. Every once in a while, it grows to be real popular, to be healthy, and to get in shape and everything. And what Disney was able to do, Run Disney was able to do, is they were able to take the exercise of running, and they were able to figure out a formula that would turn that into a social event. And I see that as being the key to their success when they were very successful. I'm not sure if they're as successful now because of a number of things. But what happened was that they turned it into a happening. They turned it into an event. They turned it into a weekend. So think of it this way. Would you go down just for one race, or would you go down for a weekend of races? And would you go down for the opportunity to have your photo taken with characters along the way when you're running? And you also get this very nice medal to show you what you've done. And you get to wear that medal in the parks. And people will say, congratulations on this or that. The other thing is that they were really smart because they brought on people like Jeff Galloway and other people. Tara, I forget her last name. She was the nutritionist. And then, of course, their race announcers, who we got to know very, very well. And they became very friendly, very social. And it was a network, a family. It was really great. And I think that formula just worked for them. Now, the thing is that with that came the idea that they could generate revenue from that. So people would make reservations for the hotels. They would spend their money there. They would buy tickets for the parks. They would spend their money on food and everything. And of course, there was the expo. So it became a really big revenue generator. And there was the other thing was that it became a social event. It was amazing over the years, over the 15 years that I had been running, how many people got to know one another. And it was really something that I looked forward to every time there was a race, be it in Florida or be it in California. And it really, really was fun. It got to be real expensive, but it was fun. It's been changing over the last several years, and I still recommend someone who is interested in running in either Florida or in California to think about doing it, because it's an experience that you remember for years to come. The medals are great. The courses are fun. It's really fun to run in the parks. I can't tell you the emotion that you feel when you run up Main Street USA. And running towards the castle. It's quite a feeling. They also have nighttime. They used to have nighttime races. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, the Wine and Dine used to be at night. So it's a great experience, and I encourage anybody out there who's a runner who hopefully someday, when all this stuff gets behind us, they get a chance to experience Run Disney.
So, Glenn, I know a second ago you said that I would never do this, but I think Mike just listed off one that I would do. First of all, number one, it's at night. So I won't be dying of heat stroke. And number two, he said the magic words, wine and dine. Like, okay, that'll be about...
You only get the medal when you finish, Jenny.
If I'm ever forced to do one, that's going to be the one.
So, Jenny, on the wine and dine half marathon that they used to hold at night, at the very end of that race, you would go through, you would get your medal and your banana, your goodie, your goodie box or whatever. And then you kept walking. And then at the very end, there were two barrels. And I believe...
And you sit under one and open your mouth?
I believe one had white wine and the other one had red wine. And you were actually given an opportunity to have some wine at the end of the race.
Very cool.
So that was a nice touch. The other nighttime race was Twilight Zone Tower of Terror race. It was a 10 miler. And that particular race was very well themed. It was very, it was in October, and it was the spooky stuff, and there were all kinds of things that they had going. That was probably the race that I think was the most fun, although the Star Wars races were pretty fun too.
Well, that's very cool. Mike, where can people find you now with what you're doing now?
Well, like I had mentioned before we started recording, Chris Aliopoulos, Michelle Scribner-McLean, and I have brought back to life the Micky Miles and More podcast, where we talk about all things Disney. We talk about running. We talk about things about Disney. We talk about Disney Plus, the parks. We talk about a lot of things. We will be having guests on from time to time. We record every week. We're on YouTube, Micky Miles and More podcast. We invite everybody to come join us, subscribe, and I think that everyone will get their Disney fix, hopefully, from our shows. We try to be as entertaining and as informative as possible. We try to bring on guests who we feel people would love to hear from, and we're trying to be as good as we can with very timely episodes. That is one or two, at least one a week. We're trying to shoot for 2 a week, and we hope that it will continue for a long time. And we're seeing old friends come saying, welcome back. And, hopefully that will continue. As far as the other podcast goes with Len and Mike and Annette, stay tuned and we'll figure that out pretty soon.
Very good. Mike, I got to tell you, Jemmy and I did something that no other person has done, no other people have done, I think, at Disney. Our first episode, we did 10 free things to do at Disney World using only Disney transportation in one day. And we started at 8 o'clock in the morning and got done at midnight. But we did 10 free things using only
over that finish line. But
oh my God. One thing we forgot about was every time we went on Disney transportation, we had to go through security and we had all our equipment along.
And he had everything tangled into his belt. So he had to take his belt off. That wasn't embarrassing.
We went on more Disney modes of transport. We did it though. We accomplished that goal. We did 10 free things to do at Disney in one day.
Glenn, we have.
It was a marathon.
So how long did that day last?
We were up at 8.
Going.
We started at 7 outside the park, and then we ended at midnight. Wow. Our last thing was we watched the fireworks over Magic Kingdom at 11 o'clock from the beach at the Polynesian. That was our last thing, which was, I still remember to this day. It was kind of magical. So I don't know about Jemmy, but it was fun. Did
either one of you get a chance to attend that One More Disney Day back in, I want to say 2000?
The 24-hour one?
Yeah.
No, we did. Well, that sounds like something we would have done, though.
I want to, before we end, I want to leave you with a story that I think most of your listeners would love to hear, and that is that. So we were there that night, and it was around 3:30 a.m. And Len Testa had just finished with his cupcake party at the Tomorrowland Terrace. And we had to say goodbye to one of our cast member friends who said, I need to work tomorrow night, so I need to go home to St. Cloud. I think he lived in St. Cloud, and I need to get some rest. So we walked with him from the Tomorrowland Terrace to just outside the ice cream store, just past the plaza and across from where they sell the hot dogs, Casey's. And so we're standing there on Main Street, USA. And remember, it's about 3:40 a.m. We turned to our left to look down Main Street, and you would have sworn, instead of it being 3:30 a.m., it was 9:30 a.m. with that crowd, just a swell crowd, just coming up the street, Main Street, USA. And at that point, I said to myself, boy, people would be here 24/7. If they had the parks open. If you open the gates, they will come. And it was just one of those moments that I'll always remember and convinced me that Disney fans are more than willing to spend as much time and access to the parks if they were given it.
That would have been fun to do once. I think that would have been fun. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on this podcast.
Great meeting you, Mike.
Flintstone Media has been the digital bedrock of several Florida brands and businesses. Serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house, work with a leader in Florida's podcasting industry and add a podcast to your brand's content offerings. From setup through recording and distribution, Jemmy will lend her experience producing over 500 episodes and make the process of creating your show simple and easy for you. Visit FlintstoneMedia.com for podcast samples. That's FlintstoneMedia.com. Well, now it's time for a segment that I am calling the Florida Bucket List.
Finding Florida's list fix.
Doing this show was on my bucket list, and it was our goal to take you along so you felt like you could do all the Florida bucket list things too. And I hope that we've done that over the last 2 years. We've done over 100 activities over the last couple of years, and all of a sudden that came to a grinding halt thanks to a stupid virus, but we'll get back to doing them. But I found this on vacationsmadeeasy.com. It was the top 50 things to do in the Sunshine State. And I thought, well, these are kind of bucket list things. Let's see how many of these we've done in our 100 things over 2 years. So of all the people that have come to Florida, we have probably attempted to do more things in that period of time than anybody in the world.
Most likely.
We'll see how we did, okay? And then you at home can also determine of all your trips to Florida, or if you live here, how many of these things have you done? And then I have a little sound from some of the past things that we have done. So, number one was swim with dolphins. We haven't done that yet.
Have you done that ever? Like any of your cruise vacations that ever been an excursion?
No. Have you?
No, I haven't. And what's interesting is if I ever were to be on a cruise or on any kind of vacation that had excursions like that, if they have an alternative to swim with stingrays, sorry, dolphins, leaving you behind.
You've always wanted to do that.
As much as I love dolphins, though. Oh my gosh. I want to kiss one on the nose, but after a stingray.
One of these days. How about have some delicious crab on the Gulf?
Okay,
you
literally,
did do that.
My mouth just watered.
You did that. You had a lot of crab on the Gulf. That was our RV tour.
Oh my gosh, I love crab.
How about see classic automobiles at one of the many car museums
Christ
in Florida?
Almighty, I know what you're going to play.
We got to do that when we were in Daytona, and we got to ride in one of those classic hot rods with the top down. It was a convertible, and we got up to 100 miles an hour, and here is what it sounded like.
Oh my God, I love this.
And that's what it sounds like sitting in the back seat of a convertible doing 100 miles an hour.
And side note, ponytails do not last.
Yeah,
a hot rod.
The speed limit in that section was 35, so we were definitely over speed limit. Did you think when he took us out that we were going to do that? I had no idea.
No,
we're on
I'm so glad he did. I am a speed demon. I love it. I loved it, as you heard.
How about explore the beauty of the sunken gardens in St. Pete? Well, we haven't been to St. Pete yet. We're going to do that. That's one on our bucket list is St. Pete. Definitely going to get there. Try your hand deep sea fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. We are also going deep sea fishing because I've been deep sea fishing and I love it.
You do it. Oh, deep sea fishing. It doesn't involve diving. I was going to say I don't have the levels for
fishing.
it, but then okay, maybe I.
No,
maybe
we gotta
I
do
will.
that. I'm going
to catch something bigger than you. Ha ha ha. It's on. Everything's a competition. Why do I always make everything a competition?
Your whole life's been that way.
I'm an older brother.
Right.
What do you expect?
How about ride the Jungle Queen riverboat in Fort Lauderdale?
Oh,
we
done that. And it was really cool. It takes you to like their own little private island where you get, again, wined and dined. Apparently that's a theme that I enjoy.
Go through this river that is beside these multi-bazillion-dollar mansions and yachts that are unbelievable.
Yes, and apparently if you go on at the right time, there one of the houses along the river has this cute little dog that runs by the boat and does tricks. It jumps over the fences, it does flips and stuff. I saw it, I'm like, go dog go. It puts on a show for the riverboat.
Well, here's a little of the sound from the Jungle Queen when we were there.
The boat, you're smooth sailing. There's a bar on the boat. Hello, I love that.
Dania's had a few at this point.
Don't tell my parents. So we had a great time. So we highly recommend the Jungle Boat Cruise.
Now, thank you all for coming. I really enjoyed y'all. Could I get up here?
I played that clip because of all the times we were together, that was the most drunk you were, was on that particular trip.
And of course, you're one to memorialize it. Thank you, Glenn.
I had to remind everybody that there was some alcohol involved in that one. So see the reenactment at the Castillo di you
Don't
say
ever
it.
Say Castillo. Isn't it Castillo? The San Marcos.
Yes, and that's in St. Augustine, which we are going to get to one of these days. Go snorkeling. You did that with the manatees.
So, yes, I've done that. So funny. I actually forgot about that for a second. I was thinking about this time that I went snorkeling as a kid, well, like a young teenager. But yeah, I totally went snorkeling with the manatees, and that was lovely. And we actually got to hear and swim with baby manatees, too. Oh, it was so awesome.
Tour the Bonnet House, which is where?
It's in Fort Lauderdale, and it's awesome. So what's awesome about the Bonnet House is that it's this unbelievably like palatial home surrounded by these like gardens and everything, and it's right in the middle of downtown. You have no idea that you're in the middle of a city. It's crazy.
It's quirky. It's kind of neat. See the dolphins at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium, and that was one of the first stops we were making on our ride down the coast on our bikes. We
I
were
was
going
going
to
to say,
stop.
I was starting to feel really bad that I didn't remember because I thought
No.
that you were saying it was something we had done. I get it.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
No, that was one of the stops we were supposed to do. How about see a NASCAR race at Daytona International Speedway? Well, we didn't. Yeah. But we did. We were on the Speedway during a tour.
We saw an accident without the race.
And there were broken parts, and they were mine. And I have a little bit of that sound. You have to listen closely. You're going to listen to this very short clip, and you're going to hear a clunk.
Is this where
Listen
I
for the
express my
clunk.
great concern for your safety and well-being?
Yeah, listen for the clunk. Did you hear the clunk? Let's play it again. That was me.
Wait, go
Was
ahead.
me.
Yeah,
That was me
good.
breaking several ribs right there.
And then what you hear right after that is me going, oh, your phone! Because that was where I was concerned.
Yeah, my phone went flying out onto the racetrack, onto the Daytona International Speedway. It survived, by the way, which was amazing. But my ribs did not. So, yeah, that was an embarrassing day right there.
Hey, we got to see the emergency room. It was fantastic.
Just do a couple more. Ride an airboat. Well, we've done that a few times. Some were successful, some not so much.
No comment.
See the Ernest Hemingway Home and Museum in Key West. We did that. We had an interview there.
Yeah.
So we did that. That was good. Did you ever do this? We never did it together, but it's in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Market 17. It's a restaurant where you dine in the dark.
No. That sounds weird. I think I've heard of this kind of dining experience. I didn't know there was one in Fort Lauderdale. I knew there was one in New York, but I've never heard about it being in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, so we need to go do that where you eat in the dark and it's completely dark. So apparently you don't even know what you're eating. And that could be really bad for me because I don't like
Yeah, you're
fish,
too picky. Like, I can't imagine you doing this.
I'd be having trouble. There's something I want to do too. And we'll end on this one. It's the Sarasota Chalk Festival.
Well, that sounds
where,
fun.
Where these artists all get together and they do chalk drawings on the sidewalks all over Sarasota and stuff.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
they
that
do
be
something.
cool?
Yeah, they do something similar like that every year in Lake Worth. Really, really cool. I mean, what these artists can do is just amazing. And what's really neat is some of them are extra gifted and they can do like 3D chalk art.
3D
Oh
ones.
my gosh. It just blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. There was a chalk artist that I interviewed. Gosh, it was a long time ago on Curve the Cube, and she had done a 3D art piece that was a huge crayon on the ground, and there were like ocean waves. So I stood on it like I was surfing on the crayon. It was really cool.
Well, of the 50 that was on this list, we have done 21, by the way. So we're on our way. We're almost halfway there. So we have to do the show for another 2 years and we'll be there.
Let's get right back into the swing of things, guys.
That's
Come on.
right.
Let's do this.
Well, thanks for coming along once again as we continue finding Florida from our offices and studios in the midst of this outbreak.
During this time, we at FPN will be doing everything we can to keep our community's spirits up. We've already been sharing loads of stuff and content across all of our shows in relation to coronavirus, in relation to what's still going on in the world and in Florida. So please look at our website, floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus. And you can find all kinds of information in there. And also join us on our Facebook group called FPN Insiders for just a laugh about all the random stuff we see.
If you know of cool news, especially of the positive or extra goofy sort, to help enlighten our moods, please email us at Jemmy, that's JAIME, at floridapodcastnetwork.com.
And even with social distancing, you can still hang out with us on social media. So again, search for us all over the interwebs at Find FL Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And here's to your next Florida adventure, even if it's from the comfort of your living room.